Hi, everyone, and welcome to Social 5 University. We're going to be talking about trending hashtags today. Excited to have you all on board. This is a fun topic. It's super trendy and super fun. It's always changing. But we kind of wanted to talk today a little bit just about how you can get in on some of these trends, both with using your Social 5 resources that are, that we have available for you, and just doing it yourself if it's something that you want to do for your business and you feel like you want to hop in and get in on the fun. So let's do a little overview of what we'll be talking about today. So first off, we're going to start off just reviewing some basic Twitter terms. I know a lot of you probably already know a lot of these terms already, but it doesn't hurt to kind of go back over them and check them out to make sure we understand what we're talking about before we get started. Then we're going to start talking about some trends and hashtag strategies. And one of the things I really want to talk about is organic versus predictable trends. Then we're going to be talking about brand versus campaign hashtags. And we'll finish up with content hashtags, which are sort of more the everyday run-of-the-mill hashtags that we see. So again, back to just Twitter 101 kind of here. Some of the basic terms that you need to know. The first one, obviously, is a tweet. I think you probably all know that already, but just in case you didn't. So these are posts on Twitter that are no more than 140 characters long. If a tweet's been shared from another person's profile, you may see that they've put the abbreviation RT in front of it, indicating that it's been retweeted. Now, if you're using Twitter itself to do your tweeting, it does have a retweet icon that you'll see if you retweet something from someone else. So say someone posted a quote or something that you thought was funny or whatever, and you want to share it with your followers, you could essentially retweet it, and that means you're taking what they said and sending it out to your group. Now, if you do that on Twitter, it will have like a little icon that says it's been retweeted. However, Twitter is one of those platforms that a lot of people use through a third-party app like TweetDeck or something along those lines. And so that icon won't always show up on TweetDeck. So the RT thing is always a good idea if you're retweeting something, just to make sure people know that it's not your original thought, but that it's something that you've passed along from someone else. Next, hashtag. Of course, this is what we're here to talk about today, right? These are kind of the secret ingredient for trending on Twitter. They help us categorize the content. Some of you may know that my master's degree is in library science. And so I get really excited about things like this, about the organization of information and things like that. But really, hashtags are the kind of the card catalog or the library catalog of Twitter. And they're what allow us to categorize all the tweets and information and help it be found. Think of a hashtag as like, putting that identifying number on the book in a library, right? If you've got the book in the library, it's in your collection, but you don't have it marked as to where it is and where people can find it, it's going to sit on the shelf forever, right? So putting a hashtag on something is what allows people to find it on Twitter and help that information get out. Sorry, I'll stop being a library nerd now. And then the last thing is the @sign. This is a big important thing because this is how you can target individuals on Twitter or companies or whatnot. So you'll see tweets come into you. People will use the @sign and then your Twitter handle for your company name, and that will send you whatever tweet they wanted to send your way. Now you can do that the same thing to other people. If you want to reply to a tweet that someone has sent you, or you want to talk to another company or a person or whatever, you just put that @ symbol and then their Twitter account in there, and it will go to them. So pretty cool. All right, so let's talk a little bit about trending hashtags. You can see either what's trending in your area or nationwide in real time on your Twitter profile. And they're going to display on the left side below your profile. And you can see I've pulled up kind of they're right here on the home page of Twitter. And I pulled out a breakout box here of I pulled this yesterday, what was trending yesterday. So you're going to see on the trending list both hashtags that have that £, and you'll see just trending topics that don't have a £. So you can look at some of the things that are trending. You see Dem debate, a lot of these things that tend to trend are kind of just silly, fun games. This one is get elected in 3 words. International Women's Day was very popular. Other ones scrolling down, Josh Richardson is on there. I looked him up. He's one of the stars of the Hunger Games. I don't know if he did something of, momentous something yesterday, but for some reason he was trending. So what you're going to want to do if you want to start using these trending hashtags is check the list periodically and see if there's anything that can relate to your business. And then you're going to click on the link and see recent tweets that are using that hashtag or that topic. Now, that's a really important factor, and I want to talk about that really quick. Kind of a word of caution as you're doing this. Make sure you check that hashtag before you post and that you understand what the hashtag is talking about. For example, Kit Kat has the hashtag have a break. That's one of their big marketing campaigns. But a lot of other things, that's a common phrase that we use in our society. So other people might be using have a break and not really be talking about Kit Kat. So something, I want to bring this up because you can get into trouble. So here's one a while ago. DiGiorno Pizza saw that this hashtag why I stayed was trending. And DiGiorno Pizza actually has a pretty awesome Twitter game going on. They live tweet a lot of events. They're really funny. They're, really well, a brand that's doing really well on Twitter, even if, you don't like frozen pizza, people follow them anyway because they're so entertaining. But so they had this hashtag, why I stayed. So DiGiorno saw that and went, why I stayed? You had pizza. Okay, haha, funny, whatever. Well, it turns out why I stayed was a hashtag that was going around being used by victims of domestic violence to talk about why they stayed in these abusive relationships. So you have, these women who maybe have never been brave enough to talk about these things before, things like that about, horrible abusive relationships that they've been in, talking about why they stayed. Maybe it was for their kids or they didn't feel like they had anywhere to go or whatever. And then DiGiorno Pizza pops in and says, you had pizza. Really comes off as unfeeling and uncaring and just a big faux pas. So that's why you want to make sure you check out that hashtag and make sure that it is what you think it is, right? Because sometimes things start trending and your reading of it is one thing and what's going around in Twitter is not the same. So check it out beforehand. Another thing that you really want to be careful of with these hashtags is you don't want to be a spammer. Only hop on a hashtag if it relates to your business or if you have something relevant to say. If you post, on every trending hashtag and just post something that's totally unrelated and it's just about your business, Twitter can flag your account and deactivate you for a while because they'll think you're a spammer. So really try and, there's no need to hop on these trending hashtags every single time. It's just you're looking for an opportunity and a window that would help you get your word out about your business or how it might relate. So let's talk a little bit about some of these, tags that go around. One thing that we can do is we can predict a lot of the what's going to be popular. Now, you can think big events like, the Super Bowl or the Olympics or, the must-watch TV finale or, movies that are coming out, holidays that are going around. We saw International Women's Day was on the list earlier. So these are predictable. We know they're going to happen. I picked this picture of Old Faithful because the Super Bowl is the Old Faithful of hashtags, right? It comes around every year at the same time. We know it's going to be popular. Same with something like the Olympics or, this Scandal TV show finale or something like that, right? You know that those are going to happen. And the cool part about that is they're really easy to get in on because you can make plans in advance. So you can even get us to do it for you here at Social 5 if you want. So, if you're a restaurant or something and you know that the Super Bowl is coming up, you want to get some tweets out there using the Super Bowl hashtag and letting people know that you've got catering services or, what to eat during the big game or something along those lines. So, whatever might be happening in your industry or whatever, or just in the world around us, we can help you build tweets targeted around that. So if that's something you're interested in, let us know. Just shoot us an email over at content@social5.com and we can help get those predictable predictable trends in on your Twitter strategy. Now, other hashtags spring up organically from current events. And these are things like internet memes or, just the random stuff that starts to go viral online, right? And we never know what that's going to be. These are the ones that you have to jump on pretty quickly. You want to jump on them within 24 hours, right? So let's think back to our list of hashtags that was happening earlier. Yesterday, International Women's Day was still trending. Well, International Women's Day was actually the day before, but there were so many tweets about it that it was still kind of hanging over from that day. But so if you hop on and do a post about International Women's Day the day after, it looks kind of silly, right? So you want to make sure that you're staying on top of those and try and get in on those within 24 hours or so. Now, again, some of these, we never know what they're going to be, but sometimes we can predict where they're going to come from. For example, it's election season right now. A lot of people are following that. Anytime there's a debate, you're probably going to see some sort of trending hashtag come out. Probably the most famous example of this that I can think of was back in the 2012 election. I don't know if any of you remember this, but Mitt Romney made some comment about, they were asking him, why don't you have more women in leadership positions or something? And he said something about like, I've got binders and binders full of women with great leadership skills. And people, for some reason, just latched onto that, and binders of women was trending immediately. Like before the debate was even over, people had thrown together artwork and put it up online and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard to know what people are going to latch onto that way. A recent one that's been really popular that came out of nowhere. I don't know if any of you guys have seen this, but it's the Damn Daniel kid. It's a YouTube video of some kid walking around and his friend is kind of making fun of him and his white Vans shoes. Okay. It was huge. The kid ended up going on the Ellen show, and she gave him a lifetime supply of white Vans. It was really weird. No idea why that was something that people grabbed onto. It's one of those viral things that you can't really predict. So, they can come out of nowhere. And if you want to get in on them, you have to move fast. So now saying that, I don't want you to feel like you have to get in on whatever the most popular trend is, right? It does move fast and stuff. So let's talk a little bit about some of these, trends that maybe don't spike quite as big, but are more sustained and steady growth. So one thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have a set of hashtags that you use to market your business and your brand. If you're going to be doing posts for your company, you want to make sure that you have a brand hashtag. And this is your company's name or tagline or whatever. And you want it to be unique to your business. So, you can think of things like hashtag Coca-Cola or hashtag Home Depot, right? They're the name of the business or whatever. And they use those tweets, those hashtags when they're tweeting so that people know that, they're linked to that company. The other thing that you'll see sometimes is these campaign hashtags. And that's for whatever the current marketing campaign your company might have. Now, the thing you want to make sure of is that you do your research to make sure your hashtag hasn't already been taken. We were talking a minute ago about that Kit Kat campaign, right? That it's have a break. And that's a really great campaign hashtag, but it does have the drawback that, people might just tweet something, have a break, that it doesn't relate to your campaign. So, something, that you want to be looking for here is you don't want it to be too generic. You don't want to do something like 20% off or something like that, because there's just too many other tweets that could be having that. So make sure that you have, your company's name in there somewhere, or the unique name of the campaign that you're doing, not something just like give or something like that, right? You want to keep it a little more unique. Now, these other types of hashtags, content hashtags, are what we use every day here at Social 5. And you can use them too, is the really cool part. These are what we use to keep your content relevant in your industry. And again, sort of like that library philosophy that we were talking about. It's what helps people find your content when they're searching for something like that. Well, it looks like we've got a question here. Let me pull that up really quick. How do you check hashtag usage? That's a great question. So obviously you're going to be able to see the top ones that are trending on that Twitter page. The other thing you can do is you can, there are a few outside resources, like there's a website called hashtags.org, and you can type in whatever hashtag you're thinking of using and see how it's playing out in the Twitter sphere. The best way for me is I just put in whatever hashtag I'm thinking of using on Twitter and see what else comes up. You know, a lot of these content hashtags you're going to see used, again, they're not spiking in popularity, but they're steady maintaining over time that, you know, they're kind of the standards used by the industry. And so those are what we try and go for. All right. So obviously, if you have any more questions, feel free to hop in as we go. So here's an example I pulled up from one of our clients' Facebook page or Twitter pages, Mike Whitford. He's a great guy. And he's got, you know, this is just part of his Twitter feed. And you can see some of the hashtags that he's been using. Safe driving. He's got another one for personal finance. Down here at the bottom, oops, sorry, did not want to annotate that. Sorry, my thing's in the way, I can't see. I think it's health and fitness or something like that. But anyway, so he's an insurance agent, right? So these are all different types of posts that we here at Social 5 have created for him. And they're about, you know, different types of things that you might insure. So there's one about driving and insuring your pet and making sure that they're safe and don't cause a car accident. So we use the safe driving hashtag. You know, personal finance, again, something that's important to him as an insurance agent. So we're keeping it there as a hashtag. So you're going to see a lot of those show up. Now, if you want to suggest hashtags because you've seen that a lot of folks in your industry are using them and, you know, you want to let us know that we should be using them too, we'd love to do that for you. Send us an email over at content@social5.com and let us know what hashtag you'd like to use, and we can start popping that on a few of your posts. Now, one other thing I wanted to talk about real quick is the number of hashtags that you put on a post. You know, you could have a whole post of just hashtags, and you probably don't want to do that. You know, try and stick to one or two that are really relevant to what's going on. So maybe you have one that's super trendy, you know, that's on that trendy list, and then one that's maybe more of a content hashtag that's that more everyday run-of-the-mill hashtag. So things to think about as you're going in. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for any questions you guys may have. Feel free to ask either in the chat box or in the Q&A, and I'll go ahead and answer those for you. So anybody got anything that they wanted to ask? One other thing I should add as we're going through this is, again, that, you know, if you want to get in on some of these predictable ones like the Super Bowl or things like that, you know, and you feel a little overwhelmed, please let us know. We're happy to help you with that and would love to put some posts together for you about those big events. I know it can be a little overwhelming sometimes. So here's a few great questions. So one is, how often should you tweet? And that's a hard question, right? We send out Twitter content for you 5 days a week. And that's a good amount. You know, it's funny because on Facebook, we tell you, like, do not post more than once a day, right? Like, really, don't post that often. Twitter, you can post more often if you want, because it moves a lot faster than Facebook. So that's why we post at least once a day. If you wanted to hop in and post more than that, you can. And part of it depends on what hashtag you're using. If you are going to be hopping on one of these big trending topics, you can tweet more often because there's going to be more tweets featuring that, and it will cycle through the news feed faster. So if you're tweeting something like Olympics or Super Bowl or something like that, you can tweet more often in that event than you would normally. I hope that helps answer your question. All right. Another great question, can we use hashtags on other social media channels? And the answer is yes. Facebook, they haven't really taken off as much so far. You still can use them, but people just don't as much. But they're very big on Instagram. They use them a lot on things like Tumblr and Pinterest as well, but we don't call them hashtags there just to make life confusing. They're just called tags. So, and some of them are slightly different. Like if you're doing a Tumblr tag, it can have spaces in it and things like that that it can't have on Instagram or on Twitter. So I hope that helps. All right. So here's a great one. What's the best ratio for tweeting what's trending versus content? And she says, I've got a few companies, but it can be some of them can be kind of boring, right? And really the most important thing is to keep that constant flow of content going, because those are the folks who, if you're tweeting about safe driving or mortgage rates or whatever, those are when people go to make a life decision like that, that's what they're going to be focused on. So, those are the kind of the meat and potatoes of what you want. The desserts are the trending topics that you want to hop on every now and then. And again, that's knowing that you can predict some of those trends and what's going to be popular really helps with that. So you can plan in advance and make a strategy for something that is going to be popular. Every now and then something weird will come out of the woodwork, like the damn Daniel kid or whatever, who no one knew. I still don't understand why that was popular. I feel that way a lot about social media sometimes. I'm like, why did we get obsessed with that thing? Anyway, so that's I would say the content ones are the most important, but the trends are fun and can be good to get in on too. Good question here. What are the parameters for a hashtag? This is a great question. I should have answered that earlier. So there's no limit on the number of letters that you can have in a hashtag, but you can't have any spaces and you can't have any special characters. So you can't use like an ampersand or a pound. Well, you can use the pound sign, but you can't use a percent sign or anything like that. You do want to try and keep it short, because just like any other tweet, you're still going to be limited by that 140 characters. So you want to try and come up with a hashtag that's kind of short and sweet and gets to the point. And then Jennifer has another great question here about, should you try and reach that 140 character limit, or are shorter tweets read more? Because the limit is 140 characters, people tend to read it no matter what. Like, it's not like on Facebook where you'll see a super long post that people are like, too long, I'm not gonna read that. Because it's so short, people pretty much always read the whole tweet. Unless it's, just the first top, and then you have like, you've written a giant long blog post and you posted it on Twitter with just the first sentence, and then you've got to hop to a link or something like that. People don't hop through the link as often. They're probably going to see just the tweet first. Another great question: does someone have to follow you in order to see your tweet? And yes, yes and no. To see it just happen to pop up in their newsfeed, yes, they do. But the reason we use these hashtags is so that they can see your tweet even if they aren't following you. So that's how they're going to search for it. They're going to put in that hashtag in the Twitter search bar, and that will bring up all the hashtags with that, all the posts with that hashtag. So that's why you want to be using that hashtag, is that, it will have, it gives you a bigger audience, basically. All right. Do your hashtags count in the limit of 140 characters for a tweet? Yes, they do. And so that's why it gets hard when you're starting to try and use more than one hashtag, right? Because it's just, if you have 4 hashtags that you want to use, it takes up all your space and you don't get to actually say anything. So that's something to keep in mind, and another reason why we recommend not using too many. Last thing here is, can we talk about using photos or video in a tweet? We sure can. So this is going to work very similar to how you put together a regular tweet. You're just going to, in that Twitter box at the top of Twitter, you're going to want to go in and put in a photo, choose the photo video option instead, and then allow you to upload a photo or video. But then, just like any other tweet, you're going to want to put some context there. You're going to want to put in some information about why you're sharing this video, maybe something about why it's funny or relevant to your business or something like that. So you'll want to put in a little information about why you're sharing this video, and you'll want to put some hashtags on it so that people can find it. So, all right. I think that we got to everything. Any other questions? I'll do kind of a last call here. And if you need a second to type it, put up your hand so I don't miss you. All right. Well, looks like we got everybody, so I'll go ahead and sign off for right now. We've got another session coming up here at 11 o'clock on Instagram, and just real basic on getting started with Instagram and how to get that going. So also a fun one, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. So, oh, one more question. How do you link back to your website from Twitter? So you're going to do that just the same way you would do any other website link. You can include the link in your tweet. The other thing you can do, though, is, and that we really recommend, is that on your Twitter profile, you include your website. And that way, anyone who sees your tweets can find your website by looking at your profile. So you can do it that way, and you can put it in the tweet itself if you want to. All right. Well, thanks so much, you guys, and we'll see you later.